Hi guys, MrRoflWaffles here. Today we're going to be talking about everything wrong with the Edge of Fate campaign, and also everything right with it. We're going to be trying to be a little balanced, but yeah, giving my brutally honest thoughts. To start with, I played through the whole campaign on Legendary difficulty. I also played through the first 4 or 5 hours 3-player, then nearly the entire rest of it 2-player, and then I did the final mission on solo, just so you have some context about what my fire team was like. The topics I want to cover are the ball and the puzzles and that sort of stuff, the narrative, things like music and sound design and stuff like that, and then the overall kind of gameplay experience as well, and the mission design. So we'll start with the ball. 6 weeks ago, I went to a Destiny event at Bungie, and I got to play the Edge of Fate early. And I really didn't resonate with the ball while I was there. I just didn't feel like it contributed to the experience, and I felt like it wasn't in-depth enough to be exciting, and so it just felt like a lot of busy work and looking for things. And I actually said this in my criticism video 6 weeks ago, which you can see a clip from here. For me, I didn't really love most of the execution of those Kepler abilities. And I want to be very clear about this. There were some instances where I was like, that's really cool. Like, I think that is a really cool little puzzle that they've set up where I need to think about this in a smart way and be like, oh, if I teleport here with the relocator, then that gives me enough time in the Matter Spark to do this, and then I can go here and do that. Like, there were a few moments like that. The problem that I mainly have was that they were very, very minuscule in their number compared to the vast majority of the puzzles that I experienced where they were just dull. And I've written looking for things here because that is what it felt like a large number of the puzzles ended up being. I would go into my Matter Spark form, the little ball, and I would then basically roll around looking for a hole to sort of enter so I can then zap a thing. And I was just looking for a vent. And like, is that fun? Not really. And could it have been fun? I think so, but I just think the execution didn't feel as cohesive with all of the puzzling as I maybe would have liked. So many of them were just kind of too simplistic or too much just like, can I find a thing? Yay. And I think Bungie can do better than that. I stand by this. I think that the ball and the general approach to the puzzles was lackluster. And I think it's unfortunate because there was a lot of potential here, but the feeling that I had when I was previewing the game at Bungie of like, where are the in-depth secrets? Where are the juicy ones? Where are the ones that make me need to apply myself? Is the same feeling that I had actually pretty often during the campaign. It just wasn't compelling for me. And that said, I think it is important to say that I think there are going to be a lot of people out there that do actually really like the ball, especially once they fix the motion blur and the sort of weird spinning and the nauseation stuff. Once that's out of the way, I think people are going to really like it in certain scenarios. Like, if they're someone that is less of a hardcore Destiny player, I think your chances of liking the ball, etc., are much higher. If you're someone that is a little bit more on the casual end, probably, I think you're going to much more likely enjoy the ball a lot more, because it's just like a fun little thing to tinker with. But I think for the hardcore Destiny folks, I just don't think it quite hit the mark. Next, the narrative. I think this is one of my favorite Destiny stories I've ever experienced. I think that the overall narrative umbrella of all the constituent parts, the voice acting, the writing of what those voice actors were saying, the overall beat-to-beat kind of tension, the ebb and flow, the reveals, the greater mystery, the embarking on a new saga. I think the narrative team crushed it. They absolutely crushed it in all of those areas. And it comes down to the littlest things that really helped that shine. For example, this is going to be spoiler-free, but early in the campaign, there is a moment between two characters where one character is like a little angry and the other character is sort of like not sure how to deal with it. And there's a moment that really resonated with me where the character that's angry is kind of being angry and the other character is sort of talking to them and coaxing them off the sort of the rage that they're experiencing a little, and they just kind of step closer to them at one point, and it's a step that without motion capture and without you like paying attention to it, it means nothing. But in the moment, it's like there was emotion in a step. Like just stuff like that is actually so impressive in a game like Destiny that's so broad, to have had such little tiny details and moments of narrative expression and character development still making it through. Awesome. And I mean, I have so many questions about the future of Destiny. Like I've got so much to ponder about, which is so exciting. I actually really look forward to playing the campaign again, which I cannot say for any other Destiny campaign, actually, now I think about it. Like maybe the Final Shape at a stretch, but basically every other Destiny campaign, I could get away with not playing them again. Whereas this one, I'm like, I need to drink from this fire hose more. It was phenomenal. It was such a good story. I think the final mission, the way that the story unfolds there is such cinema. And this is something that like only Destiny can do, where you get to a mission like that. And again, I'm not going to say any spoilers here, but the things happening are just so Destiny. And the reveals are so Destiny, and the cutscenes are so Destiny. It's difficult to talk about it without going into spoiler territory, but I'm going to be very careful. I loved that they did what Destiny does best in that final mission, and it all came together for me. It really did. And it made me excited. Like, I teared up a little bit. Not because I was, like, weeping at, like, oh, no, they, like, took old Zavala out back and shot him in the back of the head. Like, oh, no. Like, that's a joke, by the way. But, like, that didn't actually happen. It wasn't that emotion. It was just a feeling of like, wow, this is like, Destiny's just so good. Destiny is such a good game. And as much as we all criticize it and we hate it and like all this stuff, you got to remember sometimes that it's phenomenal. Like, you actually have to remember that, because if you don't remember that, if you don't allow yourself to be reminded of that when the game does do well, then what that means, like by definition, is that you are continuing to waste hours of your life on something that you just do not derive any joy from. And that makes you a miserable person, right? And like, you don't want to be a miserable person. You should go outside and do something else, right? But if you're not that way inclined, you've got to allow yourself to be like, yeah, when I see something good in Destiny, it's good. And I recognize it's good. And that's why I love the game. And that was that final mission for me. Oh, it was just so good. I want to play it again now, bro. Like, the narrative team, just incredible work. And I think I need to give credit to Alison Lurs, for her work here, but I don't want to discredit the rest of the team as well. I think it's easy to point to Alison, but there's going to be a whole bunch of people contributing to that narrative, contributing to the direction of the voice acting, the direction of the mocap, the mocap actors themselves, the voice actors themselves, the way that they dovetail their story reveals with the gameplay stuff that's going. Like, there's so it really takes an army, right? It takes a village to bring all that together, and I think they did an amazing job. And Lodi's also fantastic. Like, Brian Villalobos, fantastic. Writing team on Lodi, fantastic. Art direction, fantastic. He's just a great character. He's so Destiny. He feels like he's been here for 10 years, and he's just debuted yesterday. He feels like an OG. He fits so well. So, Lodi's a masterpiece as well. And it's so smart, because Lodi acts as a perfect representation of the new player in many ways, saying things like, wait, why is this the way it is? Or what does that do? Or who is this thing that I might normally have some sort of assumed previous knowledge about, prior knowledge about, right? Lodi acts as a vehicle for that, but in a way that is never boring or annoying or plain and just expository kind of faff and tripe. Like, it's always a joy to see Lodi not know what's going on. And it means that when the player needs to know what's going on, and Lodi helps them understand it, it's not just, oh my god, yap, 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 exposition, Jesus Christ, I wish they would show, not tell, sorry. Like, it isn't that, but instead, this is exactly what that character would be saying right now, and the story is better for it. And also, I need to give them credit for this. There's some moments early in the campaign where Ikora, how do I say this without spoilers? Ikora has an opinion, right? And Destiny campaigns in the past have suffered for, and this goes for like Final Shape as well, to be absolutely clear. It's not like the good campaigns aren't exempt from this. They've suffered from having an idea of like, okay, in the Final Shape or whatever, let's go Varix in Beyond Light. Like, in Beyond Light, Varix thinks darkness bad, right? And that's like a core theme. And you go through and through and through the campaign, and it's like darkness bad. And then eventually, Jesus Christ, it's like pulling teeth. You finally get to the point where it's like, okay, yeah, darkness all right. Like, you finally get there, right? Similarly, in the Final Shape, your ghost over and over again is yapping, bro. And it's so annoying because your ghost is being so stubborn, and you just want your ghost to just like get with the times and grow up and be brave for once. Zavala also actually a little bit in the Final Shape campaign, and I think Ikora as well. Similar, they struggle to change their mind, and they're very stubborn in a way that sometimes doesn't feel like the logical thing that character would do. They're almost too attached to the value that the writers have defined as their defining value for the character in that moment. Like, it lasts too long. They aren't fluid enough, and it takes away some of their humanity. In this campaign, Ikora has an opinion, and I detected at the beginning of the campaign, I was like, oh my god, if this is what they do here, it's just going to be another whole campaign where she's only allowed to have one stance. And it's going to feel really one-dimensional. And I was overjoyed to see she didn't just have that whole stance the entire time. She didn't feel stubborn and rooted in a trope. Instead, she felt human. She was maybe reactionary to some things, but then she reevaluated her opinion. She saw the other side of the story. As a leader, she did her best to take all of that into account in her decision-making. I think Ikora feels the most real in this campaign that she's ever felt in Destiny. And that's a bold statement because I've not played all of Destiny. I've not played the Sunset stuff. I don't fully know, but all of the evidence presented to me in the game so far has been that Ikora's kind of tropey in the way that Zavala is also kind of tropey. They're written to fulfill a purpose. And in The Edge of Fate, it feels like they were written to fulfill their character's own vision. It's almost ironically like in the previous campaigns, their fate has been predetermined by the writing team. And ironically, it felt a little bit more like in this campaign, they were making their own fate because it was true to who I think they are. And do you know how difficult that is to do in a game like Destiny? Like, this is why I'm just like, you have to be able to see the good in things, man. Because, bro, how easy would it be for me to sit here right now and be like, yeah, the ball sucked. The ball wasn't fun. I didn't like the ball puzzles. Yap, 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 yap. Ikora was well written, but like aside from that, the ball was bad. Yap, yap, yap. Like, that would be so easy, and that would get more views, and that would get more interaction on Twitter, and that would mean that Reddit wouldn't hate me anymore, and like, it would be so simple to go down that path. But I would always rather go down the path of being like, wait a second, it's unreal that they achieved what they did with the writing in this story. Bro, can you imagine, like, just hear me out for this hypothetical. Can you imagine if we got Avengers Endgame and then the next Marvel film was better by like a good amount? Can you imagine that? Right? Now, I'm not saying that for everyone, the Final Shape campaign is going to be worse than The Edge of Fate. That's not what I'm saying here. But what I'm saying is, I think that there is stuff achieved by the writing team in The Edge of Fate that does surpass Final Shape, and does surpass Witch Queen, and does surpass so much other stuff. Like, I really believe that. Because, I mean, it's extra crazy. They've just come off the top of this 10-year story of building. We're back down here, and yet it's still riveting. Like, it's such an achievement, man. It's such an achievement. So, bravo. Everyone that contributed to The Edge of Fate. Bravo. Very well done in that regard. Now, I want to talk about the music a little bit and the sound design and stuff. Generally, sound design, fantastic. Very good. I liked the music. There were some moments where I felt like the music could have been, I don't know, just a little more powerfully deployed, perhaps. Like, I liked the music when it was there, and there's some music that was really good. But there were one or two moments where I felt like the music was like busting and it was amazing. And then it sort of would get to another little bit and it would suddenly switch into other music. And I was like, oh, I felt like pacing wise, I needed that to like start bussing sooner. Something like that. But overall, loved the music. I thought it was amazing. And I also have to give some credit to the sort of the voice acting and the sound in that regard as well, because it's all part of the sandbox. Fantastic stuff. The one gripe I have with the sound is actually two gripes. One is that there are some points about 2/3 of the way through the campaign where the subtitles do not match what's being said, and it makes it feel like you're missing lines. And I'm not sure if like Ikora said something and it was just lost in, I don't know, the game bugging out or something. Another problem we had is quite often I would get dialogue and my teammates would not be getting dialogue at that time. And this caused two problems. One is it caused problems in the scenarios where they never got dialogue. And so I heard stuff that they didn't hear. Massive problem that needs to be fixed. But there's this other problem, which is that there's this weird asynchronicity to the campaign where in normal campaigns, if we both enter a room and I go and interact with a radio, it would update both of our quest progress, right? Whereas in this, player one interacts with the radio, player two has not progressed their quest, despite the fact that they're standing next to player one. And it means that you have loads of issues with keeping in sync with your friends. This is actually just a much bigger problem than just sound. But I needed to mention it here because with sound specifically, it means that you then have different characters talking at different times for different people. And that means that you end up in these awkward scenarios where like you'll start talking to your friend that you're playing the campaign with, but they're hearing dialogue at that time. So you're talking over the dialogue. So it's just like, it's not good. It's really not good. They need to sort that out, to be honest. And I think that a retroactive fix to that, as much as it might be quite a lot of work, would massively improve the quality of this campaign for anyone playing co-op. So that's a thing. The other thing I need to say about the sound is that I had my dialogue volume on 10. And I had, at times, my music volume and my sound effects volume on 6. And it still felt like I couldn't hear the characters loudly enough. I don't know why this is a thing, Bungie. If you've got the option to make your character voices louder, please, for the love of God, actually make it work. Make it so that I can turn those other things down and hear the character voices. I shouldn't have to be desperately trying to pick them out amongst the rest of the mix. It just shouldn't be happening. And I shouldn't need to go 10 on character volume and then like 3 on the other things in order to be able to hear it. Like, I should be able to have loud both. Like, I don't have to mute the music so I can hear the characters. So that was something that I had some trouble with as well. I would have liked that. Because also, you'll go from quiet character dialogue during a mission into a cutscene where it's balanced perfectly. And it's like, okay, if you can balance it there, why are we unable to just make the character voices louder outside the like, please. Obviously, it's a canned asset. I get that. Like, don't get me wrong. But, like, give me an extra 2 dB. Honestly, it doesn't need to be tons. 2 dB across the board on all character voices, and we're in. It's perfect. So, that was the sound. I want to talk about the stability next. Stability was amazing. I had 2 quests which didn't finish for all characters, or like all the players on my team, so we had to go back and re-get them the last step of progress to finish it. That was problematic. I had 1 crash to orbit. It didn't even crash me out of the game, it just crashed me to orbit. And that was it. I had an 8-minute login queue to get in. But other than that, completely smooth. And that's amazing. I was told that like I wasn't going to get in for hours and I was going to be crashing to orbit every 10 minutes and like blah, blah, blah. Smooth. Had a phenomenal experience in terms of stability. So W Bungie for that one. I thought that they did a great job. There is one bug that is a real problem. And that's that every time you go into Matterspark, it spins my camera around. It makes me feel sick. But I'm sure that's going to be patched in the next 48 hours. So I'm not worried about that. Overall, fantastic. I thought that I had a much better experience than I could have had it been really crashing, buggy, etc. Now, let's talk mission design. Bungie's campaigns, I have the benefit of having just played through all of the Destiny campaigns in the last 6 months for the first time ever. And I think that gives me a different campaign perspective compared to a lot of people who like got a lot of nostalgia associated with these things and stuff like that. And a lot of the like, well, playing it at the time, it felt like blah. I don't have that, right? The Shadowkeep campaign is basically go and get 3 things and then go and do a thing with those things and you're done. That's like more or less how that campaign feels. It's just like go get some stuff and then you're done. And the the individual missions are basically just go kill a thing. Like that's basically it. Then you get to what's next? Lightfall. Am I getting things the right way around? Or is it Beyond Light? I always get those two mixed up. You get to the next one, Beyond Light, I'm pretty sure. And in Beyond Light, it's basically the same thing. You collect some stuff and then you get to the end of the campaign, like more or less. Like it's actually a very dull replication of the Shadowkeep formula. Then you keep moving and it's like, oh, okay, we're seeing a little bit of variation here. Like Witch Queen feels different. It feels pretty good. The final shape feels different and feels pretty good as well. This campaign in the Edge of Fate did something, I guess, a bit unusual in that it sort of went back to some of that old formula where it's like, okay, we're going to collect a bunch of strange look capsules, right? Cool. Let's do thing over and over again to get more and more capsules. And that was whatever, I guess. Within the missions, though, it's tough to break it down because on the one hand, it was much better than it could have been in the sense that we could have just loaded into a mission, killed one boss, got the thing like in Shadowkeep, and then be done, right? Instead here, you often load into a mission. There's an element of the puzzle stuff, which is maybe a bit overdone. Maybe there should have been less puzzles and the puzzles that were there should have been more in depth. That's my feeling on how it should have gone. So there's some puzzly stuff. And then it seems like often there's a boss and then there's another boss. And I just don't really know why that was the flow all the time. There's one mission that was a sort of break from that where time is relevant. Let me just say that. That was a cool mission. That was actually one of the standout missions for the campaign. It was good. The final mission also I thought was really good. But some of the mission design outside of that felt a little bit like, okay, let's go and do the thing again. And I think that that's always a challenge that Destiny faces. Like, I don't think Destiny's ever really had the most innovative mission design to make this particular point, like the standout feature of why Destiny's fun. But I didn't feel like it was especially good in the Edge of Fate, so I think that that was worth mentioning. Some of the missions just do feel a little bit like, let's just go get another Strange Look capsule. You know what I mean? But I didn't really mind it. I still had a good time. And I think that if the ball reliance was removed, I think that all of the pain of those Strange Look capsules would also have been gone as well. Not that there was much pain there, but like I think it would have just sort of flowed a little better. Overall, for mission design, I had fun. I liked it. I just felt like it could have done with a couple of extra missions like that one time-related mission, which could have changed up the flow and the formula a bit. It was a little repetitive throughout. So overall, my thoughts on the campaign are as follows. I had a lot of fun. There is a lot of good here. They set up the next 10 years of Destiny very well. There are going to be a lot of people that are mad. And some of that madness is justified. And it's justified based on, like, I felt nauseated when I went into Matterspark and I feel sick. And I don't want to feel sick when I play Destiny. And some of that's justified in people saying there was too much puzzle stuff. And some of it's justified saying, I don't know, the mission design was like a little bit too repetitive for me. That's all fair. Some of it's justified saying maybe the first half of the campaign's a bit slow and then it starts to sort of get better later. Fair. There are going to be a lot of other people that are mad because their only hobby in life is to rage at Destiny on the internet. And I want to make sure that all of us are going forwards from this point, separating those things out into the realistic, constructive criticism and the people that have nothing else going for them in their lives and they're just molding. because they are separate groups. And it's going to be very easy to mistake one for the other here, I think. So let's just keep that in mind. I had a good time. I'm looking forward to the future of Destiny. There are problems in this campaign that I acknowledge, but on the whole, it was fun. And if I compare it to my recent experiences of Shadowkeep, Beyond Light, Witch Queen, Lightfall, Final Shape, it's top 2 for me, I think. Because Shadowkeep and Beyond Light were just sort of like fine. I didn't personally resonate with Witch Queen a massive amount. A lot of the feeling that people have about Witch Queen is it's so important to people, I think, partly because of where it sits in the overall arc of building up that saga. So Witch Queen was just like good, but it didn't blow me away. Final Shape was really good, but I feel like this campaign was just so solid, man. I'm a story lover. I'm always going to over-index in story a little bit. Like Bife. Bife put out a tweet being like, I love the campaign. And people started shitting on him for it. And I'm like, what the hell are we doing here? First of all, if someone else enjoys something, let them enjoy it. Stop being miserable. Stop trying to spread your misery to other people. But second of all, he's the story guy. Of course he's going to enjoy the story that is as peak as this. Obviously, like, oh. That's where the Destiny community frustrates me, man. It's when they try and spread their anger to other people. It's not good enough to just dislike something yourself. But it's also essential for those people, for other people to dislike stuff too. Why is that? It's weird. It's weird. It's weird. The one other thing I want to say, just to tag on here, I know I'm kind of getting like dispersed in my topics, but the combat difficulty, I've seen a lot of people say it was too easy, and I'm a bit confused by that because it didn't feel too easy to me. It felt like it was maybe a touch easier than it could have been, but I wasn't sitting there being like, this is dumb combat diff. Like, it was kind of fine. So I don't really know why people are saying it was so easy. There was one mission where it suddenly did feel like it got a lot easier midway through, and I think there was some weird kind of pacing issue there. But on the whole, I thought the difficulty was kind of fine. And I think it's also worth noting that, like, I think people like Witch Queen so much because it came with legendary difficulty, and that was such a big step up for people, right? If this was the first campaign that ever had legendary difficulty, would people be being really excited about the legendary difficulty? Yes. But because it's not the first campaign with legendary difficulty, it means that we're sort of all taking it for granted, right? And we're not giving it the sort of plus points that it would have otherwise received, but we do give Witch Queen those plus points. It's worth being aware of that. You know what I mean? That's why for me, like, Witch Queen is like, it's just sort of fine because I played Final Shape first and I played Legendary in that. And then I went to Witch Queen and I was like, oh, it's just another Legendary campaign. Do you know what I mean? So like in this, if I was to appropriately give it its flowers, it's got a Legendary campaign and I liked it. And it didn't feel easier than like I literally played the Lightfall campaign like a week ago. Lightfall was easier than this. And Witch Queen was easier than this, I think. Or it was more or less the same for me. I don't know. I think the sandbox is just powerful right now, to be honest. So the one I had the most trouble with was the Final Shape. But then, yeah, like, I played Witch Queen literally like a month ago, and it wasn't significantly harder for me compared to this, I don't think. So that's going to wrap up my Edge of Fate campaign overview. I hope you've enjoyed my kind of initial first impressions, first thoughts, brutally honest takes on things. If you liked it, awesome. If you didn't like it, sorry. Sorry about that. I'm going to get back to making my other videos now, though. So plenty more Destiny content on the way. I'll see you guys soon. Bye for now.